What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Kaspa today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, my friends, and let's get into it. So Kaspa here since November of 2023 has been consolidating. It's been a very tradable range, really, right? Anytime that you're down in this area, you buy. Anytime you're up in this area, sell. You've had probably a few good ones over the year, but here you are now, looking like you want to make a lower low relative to this. You had a pretty immaculate move down, like you meant business, and then last week you were just kind of neutral. I suspect that you were neutral last week because there's, with the let's just say the pace that you're moving down here, if you were to continue that pace, you would have been well below this area of support that you found support at throughout this whole range. So I think that's why there's a little hesitation here. Are you going to get that dead cat bounce? It's not really even a dead cat bounce. Are you going to get that bounce at a normal expected area of support and get a lower high and then go down? Or are you just going to blast through it? Last week was kind of indecisive, so we might get a bounce this week, but I suspect not. If we look at the weekly RSI, if I can pull it up, weekly RSI here, we are in the midst of this move overall, I think, to forming a lower low. Here we had a high, we had a lower high here, lower high, right? And each time afterwards we had a low, lower low, lower low. I suspect that this move will not be done until we see a lower low, and likely that lower low would take us into the oversold zone. If we get into the oversold zone on KAS, that'll be the first time on a weekly basis it's ever been in the oversold zone. If we get into the oversold zone in KAS, we're going to see a lower low than this reading here. This is the relative strength index, which would mean that we're seeing a stronger move than the last move to the downside. We're seeing a weaker move, but it says relative strength, right? So this would imply strength. This would imply weakness, but really, once you get out of the overbought zone, it's strength here. Once you get into the oversold zone, it's strength here. It's just strength to the downside, strength to the upside. So seeing a deeper reading is all I'm trying to say, might indicate a stronger move, but to the downside. Okay, so if this is how strong it's been so far, what happens when you get oversold? I would think that it's going to be a pretty massive move, man. That could even take you below this low here, but at least down to 8.5 cents. We're getting that 8.5 cent area from this low to high based on the fibs. You tore right through your golden ratio. You're stalling a little bit here at your 786, but likely you will continue lower. The minimum target is the 1272 at 8.5 cents. Maximum target all the way down to the 1618, which is at about 6.8 cents. And I say that's the maximum target, but you absolutely can go lower. From a price perspective, if you were down here, right, all the way over here, we're just going left, it doesn't really make sense to find support here. But from a price perspective, it would make sense to find support here at previous areas of resistance, which also line up pretty well with your 2272, 200 areas, something like that, right? Definitely lower than 6.8 cents. So whenever I say this is your maximum, I just mean it's your maximum of that first range, right? Maybe you find support there, you move up, then you find resistance and inevitably go lower, something like that. But all in all, you guys, Kaspa's at 11.38 cents now. I assume that the rest of the crypto markets, I actually made a video today talking about what I expect the average drop for the average coin to be, and I think it's going to be about 20% or more. From the current price, if Kaspa were to drop 20% or more, that'd put it at about 9 cents. The minimum target is 8.5 cents, so if it were to go to 8.5 cents, that would give it about a 25% drop. That's to be like an expected average drop, I think, for most of the market. Let's look and see, though. I want to look and see. I want to compare KAS to most of the market. We want to do KAS, actually others to KAS. There we go. Others to KAS, yes. Okay, so this, essentially what this is if this chart's going up, KAS is underperforming most of the market. If it goes down, KAS is outperforming most of the market, which most of its existence it was, right? This chart, it essentially looks like the inverse KAS, right? Whenever this chart goes down, KAS is outperforming the markets. When this chart goes up, the markets are outperforming KAS, okay? When it moves sideways, they're moving at the same pace, okay? Hold on. Okay. On a weekly basis, because we probably won't get much out of the monthly basis. On a weekly basis, this thing does look like it's turning, right? It looks like it's turning a curve. It looks like it wants to. If this was any chart, it wasn't the KAS versus others or others versus KAS chart. If this was your favorite stock and you asked me to do analysis, I'd be like, dude, you have a massive pump coming. It's not this week, not next week, but over the months to come, over the year to come, you've got a massive pump. This looks beautiful, right? So in time, all this is suggesting, this look here, is that the rest of the market, the rest of the crypto market will likely outperform KAS, okay? But for this drop specifically, let's see. You're pretty overbought, but you're not that overbought. You just broke above previous areas of resistance. I don't know. Maybe you do drop a little bit more than the average coin. I don't know. This chart, what it looks like is an Adam and Eve. You got your Adam there. You got your Eve here. Maybe it's an Eve and Eve. If you want to call it this an Eve, and you want to call that an Eve as well, that's absolutely an Eve. But this is some kind of like double Adam almost with an Eve. I don't know what to make out of that, but it is some kind of double bottoming pattern nonetheless, right? Some kind of W structure. And you've just broken above the central point here, which normally when you do that, you don't stop until you're done with your move, which I would think would at least be to your 61869. So this would imply that over the weeks to come, KAS likely is outperformed by most coins. And if this week I'm expecting the average coin to drop 20 to 25%, maybe that implies that KAS drops more than that. If the minimum target's at 85 or 8.5 cents and that hits the maximum of the average kind of expectation, which is 25%, and if we're seeing the others chart saying that it's going to gain value, it might make sense then that Kaspa goes lower than 8.5 cents. And we can make sense out of that too, because again, this relative low here to this relative high, I mean, the next target would be 7.8. It's very possible you could go down to 7.8 cents or even 6.9 cents. You really could. Let's look at the daily aspect on this, and then we can kind of wrap this up, okay? 3-day time frame maybe. 3-day looks bullish too. It looks really bullish. Daily time frame also looks super bullish. Moving sideways over the past few days, but lower lows here, relatively higher lows overall, and it looks kind of like they're in the right trend, right? Kind of right on this line here. I would suspect you keep moving up, man. This chart looks really bullish. Even at your low points here, you're not getting oversold, but you are getting overbought, okay? I suspect you'll move up pretty soon, yeah. So this leads me to believe that KAS, even though 8.5 cents is the minimum target, it leads me to believe that you probably do go below 8 cents before you find this low here, okay? So afterwards, I would suspect that KAS, what it does, likely, you know, if we think you're going to go to lower than 8 cents, let's say you go somewhere near this low down here. If you were to go at this 123, this green line here, as it progresses further, you know, something around 8 cents. Let's say you go around 8 cents here, okay? If you bounce from there, and I suspect you do, you probably come back up to about 10 cents, 11 cents, something like that, reject, and then you probably proceed lower down to this 5 cent area. And that could all happen, I mean, at the rate you're going, at the kind of pace you're going here, and this is a rough speculation, but that could all happen by like end of March, April time that you could be down there. I suspect that April, May across the boards for crypto will be a very bullish kind of time. I think that we'll have a very nice kind of move up in those months, or be at the end of a nice move up, one or the other. KAS in that time could see a very nice move up as well. Perhaps it moves back into this consolidation phase. I have a theory about KAS, and I don't know how true this is going to be. It's just a theory based off of based off of my mind. It's not based off of anything concrete. My theory is that you'll correct, and then for the end of the cycle, what you'll do is you'll come back up to this area. You'll have an overall kind of double top look. This next area, whenever you're up in the same area, it'll be for a lot shorter of an amount of time, and then from there you'll go lower. Your real bear market will start, and you'll actually see lower lows than that low there. But again, that's just all theory. I'm saying this because if you're looking to buy KAS or you're interested in KAS, if you wait, I bet you'll have a nice opportunity to buy at 5 cents, and then you'll probably even be able to sell back at the high points of this current area here, or somewhere around there at least. Okay, so if and when you do top out, and I think that you have found your top out, I'm going to end you with this, okay? I'm going to end the video with this here, and that's where I think the low will be for KAS by the end of the cycle, by the end of its bear cycle, right? Because I think I'm sorry I keep clearing my throat, man. I think that you will find a low at 5 cents, somewhere probably in March is my thoughts, March, April time. Then you'll spend the rest of the cycle making your way back up to this area and probably living in this area, where then you'll probably end your cycle, or you will start your bear cycle, your true bear cycle, and move down. I suspect that move, whenever you move, where that low will be at least 90% away from this high here, at least 90% away. which would imply a target of about 2 cents for Kaspa or lower. 2 cents or lower. It's very rare. And if you're hearing this and you think that that's bananas, it's crazy, it could never happen, it's increasingly common. Actually, I should say this. It's incredibly rare for any coin during its first bear market to not see a greater than 90% pump. Or sorry, greater than 90% dump. It's very rare for any coin to see that. I can't think of one that hasn't, right? In future bear markets, sure, but in its first bear market, every crypto drops more than 90%. 2 cents is just at 90%. If you were to drop 92%, you're at 1.5 cents. If you were to drop 95%, you're below a cent. You could drop 95%. Absolutely, you could. I don't care what coin it is, right? Bitcoin dropped 95% in its first bull market, didn't it? Let's see. Let's look. BTC, USD, right? And Bitcoin's the Mac Daddy crypto, right? Everybody wants to believe their crypto's better than whatever, but the reality is Bitcoin's the best crypto. It has the highest market cap. It might not be the best in technology, but it's the best in popularity, and popularity is what gives this thing value to begin with. So this thing, the most valuable cryptocurrency in the world, from a high to a low during its first cycle, it dropped 93%. You guys like to compare it to Bitcoin so much. Let's pretend like we dropped 93% from what I assume to be your all-time high, your cycle high. 93%, right? 90% is at about 2 cents. 93% is a lot lower. 93% is about it's just below 1.5 cents. And you know what's great about that area? First off, comparing it to Bitcoin, it's very symmetrical with the percentage drop that you had in your first cycle, okay? And it's actually 93.7, right? So it would have been here. Secondly, this low comes in very well with this low, which debatably, out of Kaspa's whole existence here, this was your last real serious pivot that you had, right? Your last real, dare I say, like serious area of support that sent you all the way up to your areas where you found your all-time high, your resistance zone, that your Wyckoff distribution phase here that you're about to sell off on, right? And then wouldn't it look perfect too? You'd have this overall look. You'd come down here. It would look like you have a head and shoulders, right? It would look like a head, like a BART head and shoulders, and then you defy the odds and break through it and go up to new all-time highs from there. I think that you will. But essentially, I'm looking to buy Kaspa. I'm not looking to buy it right now. I'm not looking to buy it next week. I'm not looking to buy it in the year of 2025 probably even. But probably, I mean, maybe late 2025. It depends on how. I would think late 2025 we're back up at these areas or a little bit higher even. But going into 2026, 2027, I would suspect that we do see prices below 2 cents, and that's where I'll be buying. Okay, so that's, I don't know, that's a little future analysis. We'll probably go over that plenty of times over the next year and probably over the next year after that even. But just a little taste of what I'm expecting this thing to do overall. You heard me correctly. I think the Kaspa bull cycle is over. I wouldn't say this is the beginning of the bear cycle, but maybe it is the beginning of like the crab market. I don't know. It's the beginning of the end of the bull cycle. And then I think this, after this next move up, after this overall like kind of double top look, that'll be, I bet what we have is like an Eve and Adam top is kind of what I expect. But that'll be the beginning of the bear market. And I suspect that to happen at the end of 2025. I got nothing else to say, guys. You know what it is. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.